Hello, it's Kaijusaurus, and I'm back. And today I'm a little late on reporting this, but yeah, there's a new Godzilla anime coming up by Toho, and Netflix is distributing it. So yeah, new anime is coming up next year. It's called Godzilla Singular Point. You may have seen the trailer by now, and while I won't show you footage of the trailer, I'm gonna show you screenshots as I'm showing you right now. You can watch the trailer, when I'm done talking about this video, or you can hit the link below that I provided in the description box down there. With that said, I'm going to start talking about what do I think of this new anime, and I think it looks pretty cool. I think it looks promising, and from what we've seen of this trailer, it's only about a minute long, but from what I've seen, it looks a lot better than the Anime Trilogy, which was the previous Netflix adaptation of Godzilla and the previous anime incarnation of Godzilla. And if you ask most Godzilla fans in the fandom, yeah, they're gonna find it very disappointing and very much like distasteful to Godzilla fans. But anyways, this new anime shows us a lot, even though it's only a minute long, and we get to see glimpses of the other monsters, and we get to see some unexpected returns, or I'm sorry, new monsters that we did not expect to see in this anime that are coming up, and we have not seen them in a very long time. I'm going to get to those right now. The first monster we're going to start with is, of course, Godzilla. And based on the teaser, we don't see that much of Godzilla. We only see 2 shots of him. The first shot is of him firing his atomic breath, which at first it reminded me a little bit of Shin Godzilla because of the purple and how it glows. But then if you look pretty closely, you can see that his atomic breath is very clearly a blue coloration. It reminds me a little bit of Kirugoji when he fires up his atomic breath. Well, any Godzilla that has a blue atomic breath. And while we don't see a full body shot of him, he's clearly obscured by the mysterious red mist that we see not only engulf him, but the other monsters as well. But we have an idea thanks to the concept art and the posters that came out that show a silhouette as well as a face design of what this new iteration of Godzilla looks like. And I do like the design. It's actually pretty cool mix of different aspects of Godzilla, because it has the fangs of the original. It has the somewhat, the face of it kind of reminds me a little bit of GMK. It's got the crocodilian skin of Godzilla 2014, or Monster vs. Godzilla, rather. And it also has a little bit of Heisei Godzilla, of the bulkiness and how large he looks. Speaking of size, it's really hard to determine how big he is because we don't see him next to anything. We don't see him next to other monsters or next to any buildings. But based on those shots, he does look pretty large. But again, we gotta wait and see, how big he is, and just wait until they release official stats, because the other monsters don't look that big compared to how he is. So, talking about the other monsters, first we have Rodan. So we see Rodan flying over the city, and he's leaving a trail of red mist behind. And we're going to talk about the significance of this red mist later. But right now we're talking about Rodan. He looks cool. I think I'm fine with the design. It's not that special though. Like, it's not as crazy as I thought they were going to go with it, but it looks pretty cool. They're clearly taking inspiration from real life pterodactyls. It's a more scientifically accurate pterodactyl, more so than the Monsterverse Rodan, which, by the way, he is one of my favorite versions of Rodan, alongside Fire Rodan from Godzilla vs. Mechagodzilla 2. The gripe I do have with this Rodan, however, is that he doesn't look very large. It's big, sure, compared to humans, but he doesn't look kaiju size, and he's missing a tail. Reminds me a little bit of the Final Wars Godzilla with that design choice. But yeah, he doesn't look that big. But still, design-wise, it's pretty good. I think it's fine. We're gonna have to wait and see if this really is Rodan as a species. He could be like the Gaios version of Godzilla, where there are swarms of them and they're not very large. Or maybe this is how he starts off as, small in size, and then he mutates bigger in size. Who knows? We gotta wait and see. Next up is Jet Jaguar, and I have some conflicting thoughts about Jet Jaguar. On the one hand, I'm actually amazed that he came back after 47 years of absence. We have not seen him since Godzilla vs. Megalon 1973. And yeah, and that's actually pretty cool that they're bringing back characters and kaiju that have not seen the light of day for a very long time. However, with the design of Jet Jaguar, he looks like Jet Jaguar on a facial and armor and color scheme level, but the way he looks, I don't know, it just seems a little off. Like, his face is more flat. He does not have the iconic chest design piece. I don't know, his design does look a little weird. He reminds me a little bit of the Jaegers from Pacific Rim, especially with how this shot of him in the maintenance shed and how the humans are and the camera's looking up at him. But he doesn't look that big, and his arms are very skinny too. But this could be either him in repairs or him not in his finalized form, and this is like the first form of Jet Jaguar they make, which explains the weird design choices. But either way, I'm still curious and willing to see what they do with Jet Jaguar in this new anime series. Next up, we get this shot of a large sea monster tail swinging at this helicopter, and the person is dangling below. From what we can see, this reminds me of Manda. I gotta be honest with you. Even if it's not Manda, but it reminds me of Manda by the long serpentine tail and the fin-like structure at the end of the tail. It's gotta be Manda. I mean, it's, again, very different from what we've seen, because usually Manda is covered mostly in scales and has like a more fish-like tail or something like that at the end. But here it's a very leafy-like tail or something like that. I mean, it has like what looks like fur or some kind of fur underwater or something. I don't know. But still, the point is, this monster, whoever it is, either Manda or an original kaiju, I mean, it looks pretty big. It's one of the few kaiju outside of Godzilla we've seen so far that's pretty big in size. And notice the red around the ocean as well. Again, the red mist appears to be affecting the kaiju not just in ground, but also in the water. Now, this could be blood. You know, it could be an underwater battle between two kaiju going on, but this red substance we do see later on. Next is a kaiju that everybody is talking about, and is the one that I don't think many people have been asking for. It's freaking Gabara. Gabara is actually back after over 50 years of not appearing, since the worst Godzilla movie, Godzilla's Revenge, has put Gabara in a bad reputation, and he has a really silly, stupid design. But now look, he's back, and now he's sporting a pretty good design, pretty menacing design even. Yeah, this kaiju, I did not expect him to come back. I mean, and from what we can see in the trailer, he looks pretty cool. He actually does look really good. This is a really good redesign of the monster. He looks more like, I don't know how to put it. He looks a little bit like Baragon, and that's who I thought it was at first, Baragon. But if you look at the scales and the shape of the ears and the large horn and even the face, you can clearly tell it's Gabara. But yeah, he looks intimidating. He actually looks like he'll make Manila run for his money. And now we have Anguirus. I mean, a very different, very large and bulky version of Anguirus. And as you can see, he's charging at the Jeep, or the Jeep is charging at him, or they're both charging at each other. That's what I meant to say. But yeah, Anguirus actually looks interesting. It's a very spiky, very bulky, very broad shape that he has. And he's not that big, too. I mean, now it could be that he's in the background, but I don't know. He and the Jeep don't look that far away from what I can tell. But yeah, I do like this version of Anguirus. It's a pretty good design. He has a very large amount of spikes, you know, and it reminds me a little bit of concept art, or not concept art, fan art of legendary Anguirus, you know, an Anguirus that could exist in the Monsterverse. It reminds me a little bit of that, but still, I'm actually glad to see Anguirus come back, and I really hope they use him well. I really hope he doesn't just get his ass kicked. I really hope he kicks ass as well, alongside Godzilla or alongside the other kaiju, but still, and if you notice with this shot, Anguirus doesn't look like he's surrounded by the red mist. Like, there's no red mist in this shot. I don't know what that could be. You know, maybe maybe the red mist has not affected him, or maybe he's not being surrounded by it. But still, there's no red mist to be found here. Now, here's an underwater shot of what looks like a multi-armed creature or kaiju swimming underwater, and there's a boat sinking. Now, again, I first thought that this was Manda because, you know, we saw the other shot of the tail swinging at the helicopter that was in the ocean, and now here's the red mist present again underwater, and oh, I thought it was Manda. But if you look closely at the arms right there and the little spikes right there, this could be Ebara, the lobster kaiju from Godzilla vs. Sea Monster, or Ebara Horror of the Deep. But still, this looks like Ebara is swimming around, and Ebara does not look like a lobster from this shot. I don't know. The arms kind of make it seem like that, but I don't know. I mean, it's a very different take on Ebara, if this is Ebara indeed. Now, this could also be Manda as well, or this could also be a whole new monster. We really don't know. But still, we get this underwater shot of whichever kaiju is this, swimming and there's the boat right there sinking it. And there's another shot further into the trailer that shows a kaiju leaping out of the water over a battleship, and that's a very different ship than this one. And again, I'll talk later about what that scene actually is. But right here, yeah, this is an underwater shot of either Ebera or Amanda or whichever kaiju attacking this boat right here. Now we have this shot of what looks like Titanosaurus or a Titanosaurus-like kaiju jumping out of the water above the battleship right there. And as you can see from this shot, this kaiju is pretty massive in size, a lot bigger than the ones we've seen. Again, based on this shot alone, of course. And from the design point, it's very different from the original Titanosaurus. The original had a very, upright design because it was a guy in a suit, but it had a very Spinosaurian-like design, because it had the sail on the back, and it had the fin tail, and it was an aquatic version of a Spinosaurus. Come to think of it, it actually predicted the 2020 reconstruction of Spinosaurus. But anyways, yeah, it's very aquatic-like now. Like, it's way more sea monster-esque, and it has a very mosasaur appearance. It's very large too, especially when compared to the battleship down there. And from this shot, you can once again see the red substance or red liquid that's in the ocean, similar to the Amanda shot from earlier. And I don't believe this shot is the same shot from the sinking ship that we saw earlier, with the Ebra-looking arms, or the kaiju that I'm assuming is Ebra. You could tell that the ships are very different. You could tell that the one is completely underwater, and you could see that underneath the water is completely filled up with that red substance, whereas in the Titanosaurus shot, the ocean is blue, but the water splashing is red. So I don't know what's the deal with that. But yeah, this is a very cool shot of Titanosaurus, or a original monster that looks like Titanosaurus, I'm assuming. Yeah, this is a really neat shot of him jumping out of the water. It's a very massive design change as well. And if you notice on the top looks like it has Godzilla spines. So I don't know the significance of that. I mean, could it be related to Godzilla? Could it be a subspecies of Godzilla? Could it be Godzilla himself, who's evolved from the ocean into land? Again, we got to find out until more information is revealed in the future. And the last creatures to be shown here are the swarm of pterodactyls that are flying around. And we also get an up-close of one of them. And now, a lot of people are quick to call that this is Rodan, but I don't think this is Rodan. You could tell by the design of the wings, you could tell that this creature only has one horn, and it has a crest on top of its head, and it has a row of gnarly teeth inside of its mouth. Compare this to Rodan, who has the two horns, like the classic Rodan fashion. The chest design is clearly Rodan, and the beak is also very different. It's much more in line with the pterodactyl, whereas this creature right here has a very different beak design, and it also has a very different head design and a very different color scheme. And we see swarms of them flying in what I'm assuming is a city in Japan. I mean, at first I thought this was Times Square, because look at the design, look at how the building in the middle, and look at all the neon colors and all. It kind of looks like Times Square to me, but they're flying in a city. Again, it could be a swarm of them that are obeying a larger version, or maybe they're all offsprings, or maybe they're all get mutated at some point. I don't know. I mean, but the fact is, it's a swarm of them that are attacking a city. And I do find it interesting that they're taking liberties, they're taking creative choices, and doing something very different with Toho Kaiju, with the classic Toho Kaiju that we haven't seen in a long time before, and that they're revamping them and doing things that we have not seen them done before. Though I do feel like they went a little bit too far, and they're not very large as well. But again, we're going to have to wait and see until the anime series comes out on April 2021, and we're going to figure out and see what all of this is about. So now that I've talked about the monsters, we're going to talk about the human cast. We have a female protagonist who wears these glasses and has red hair, and we have a male protagonist who has white hair, I think, and also wears glasses. The female protagonist is a researcher, and the male protagonist is an engineer. So those appear to be the main characters of the anime right here. And we also have a gallery of other characters, as you can see right here. And we don't know anything about them aside from that they're going to be in the show. And we see a couple of these characters appear throughout the trailer when they're fighting monsters, but we don't know that much about them. And we do have one character that we don't see in both the poster and the gallery of characters that I just showed you. That would be this mysterious character that has glasses and has shaggy hair and has beard and has, a gray lab coat or laboratory coat or whatever, and he has a background of jellyfish right there and is in black and white. Now, who is this character exactly? I don't know. Is he the main antagonist? Is he the scientist responsible for the red mist? Is he responsible for the kaiju that are awakening, or is he the one that tried to do something good but something went wrong? Is he somehow the Zerazawa of this anime? Again, we're gonna have to wait and see. And we have not seen any other picture of him. This is the only time he shows up. So, what are my hopes for this new anime? I hope that it's a lot better than the previous Godzilla Anime Trilogy from Polygon Pictures, which had a lot of interesting ideas and it tried to do something very different with Godzilla, but unfortunately it never played to those ideas to its fullest potential. The kaiju themselves were not utilized very well, as Godzilla, Mechagodzilla, King Ghidorah, and the other monsters that failed to appear were all just there. They weren't really characters. They barely moved. They barely did anything. And the human characters were shallow and one note and had very basic designs and didn't have much to their personality. However, this new anime series looks like the characters will be a lot different, not only in character design, but will also have their own distinct personalities. And since it's an anime series, the characters will develop a lot more, and we're going to follow these two characters heavily throughout the anime series, I imagine. And with the monsters, because they're using animation and they're using it to their advantage, not to mention they've been given massive overhauls, and these are very different takes on the classic kaiju, I really hope that these kaiju, that they give them the care and respect that they deserve, and that they're treated as characters. They're not just cool CG monsters, they're not just there standing. I really hope we get to see fights. I really hope we get to see how these monsters evolve throughout the anime series. And I'm sure there's more to their stories in terms of like what's going on with the red mist, or why they're not that big compared to Godzilla. I'm sure there's more to it than that. But we're gonna have to wait and see, when the anime series comes on Netflix come April 2021. A couple things to note is that the soundtrack actually is very interesting. It's very operatic, it almost sounds Akira Ifukube soundtrack. I don't know who the composer is, but the soundtrack actually is pretty good, even though it's in the trailer. And I do find it ironic that Toho has given us a teaser for the next anime Godzilla that's due out in a few months, whereas Godzilla vs. Kong, the next MonsterVerse movie and the rematch we've all been waiting for, is 6 months away, and we still have not gotten a trailer or pictures or anything, whereas Toho has dropped a bombshell right off the bat. Does anyone find that weird? Because I find that weird and ironic. So those were my thoughts on the Godzilla Singular Point teaser trailer, and what do you think? Are you excited for this new Godzilla anime? What do you think of the previous Godzilla Anime Trilogy, and what do you think of these new monster designs? Let me know in the comments down below, and don't forget to leave a like, comment, and stay tuned for more content like this.